Hey, what's up, everybody? Christian Brindle here. Welcome back to the Seven Figures or Bust podcast, the number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business to seven figures or above. I'm joined with an amazing guest here today. I'm joined with the one and only Bruce Weinstein. Ask the Planman,
The
Bruce
Planman.
Weinstein. I'm super excited to have a conversation. Bruce and I have kind of known each other a little bit, from afar for a couple of years now. We swim in similar circles, and yeah, Bruce has, done a great job building his company, building his brand of Ask the Plan Man. And, I've just been super interested in getting together and having a conversation with Bruce for some time. So I'm really glad we're able to make this happen. Bruce,
Me too.
first off, how's your day going to so far?
Oh, things are great. I'm excited to be here. It's late Friday here, so I actually have a client call when we're done. But no,
Yeah.
it's things are good. I don't know how fast you're going to drop the episode, but March, it just turned into March, right? So 2024, we're
Yeah.
finishing up the first quarter, and as I've been saying to people, I'm still suffering PTSD from open enrollment from last year, so I'm not too motivated to really do too much. So I don't mind the interviews and the podcast for my show and your show. So I'm thrilled you asked me on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think, the interviews and the podcast and the content creation is like a nice change of direction, right? When you just get through open enrollment, it's a different kind of work. You know what I mean? It's a little bit more fun,
Yeah.
than being in the trenches of open enrollment. Let's kind of go back to the beginning here, and let's talk about your introduction to the space, to the industry. How did you get into the industry? What does that Bruce intro story look like?
Well, so Medicare specifically,
Insurance in general.
insurance. Well, there's an A and a B, I guess, to the story. But as I've been known to say to people of your age and generation, I've been licensed longer than you're alive. So,
Yes.
I started as a financial advisor slash stockbroker, although we were called account executives in 1986 with Merrill Lynch, and we had to get our life insurance license, so our life and health license. So we did life insurance and annuities. We didn't do health insurance, and certainly didn't do Medicare. And we were stockbrokers. I mean, that's no most people in the stockbroker realm didn't know much about insurance and rarely did it. But
Hmm.
as my career evolved, I got into the financial planning realm in the 90s, which is what is now Ameriprise. I was with IDS Financial Services, or it was American Express Financial Advisors and IDS at some point. That was around 1994-ish. And that's where I got into the financial planning side. And that's where the insurance world became a little bit stronger. And then as my saga goes, in 2016, after 30 years, I lost, I was a fee-based advisor at that point. I managed $100 million of assets. I was a $1 million producer, so I was a seven-figure producer, which
There
is
you go.
the top levels of that's a tie-in, right? Uh, although you don't keep that, you can make it, but you don't keep it. The house always gets a bigger share, unfortunately, and a certified financial planner, and I lost everything.
Mm.
2016, I lost my securities license. I was suspended from the use of the CFP moniker, and I spent about a year driving Uber,
Mm.
trying to figure out at 53 years of age what the hell am I going to do with myself
Yeah.
after doing something for 30 years. And 2018, I found an opportunity in Scottsdale, Arizona, for a property and casualty agency that was looking to recruit and expand in a very unique model. I'm not going to give away names and all that, but on my dime, I left my wife in Florida, drove to Scottsdale, rented a condo for 6 months, and I recruited agents in the property and casualty space, which is how I got to know people like Joe Kempert and a few others in his world. I think you know Joe. And so I did that for 2 years. I'd never recruited before, although I was a training manager in my IDS days, helping agents, do what I do, which was, successful. And but I didn't want to sell. I didn't want to sell P&C. I was able to get my P&C license, and I was able to retain my life and health license, even though I lost my securities license. And so fast forward, after 2 years, the owner sold the agency. He got the growth that he wanted with these recruitments of people like me. I was a, I don't know, whatever, district sales manager or some stupid title. And I was all paid on overrides, nothing else. And I had no skin in the game. I wasn't vested. And after 2 years, they pretty much eliminated everybody, and they took my 20% override and put it back in their pocket.
Mm.
And just as that's happening, so was COVID.
Right.
So
Yeah. The world stops.
Yeah. So I'm back in Florida. At this point, I'd been back in Florida for a while. I was only in Arizona for 6 months, and I was recruiting nationally. So I could do it from anywhere, which they let me come back to Florida instead of having to relocate. But we love Scottsdale, so it's beautiful out there. COVID's coming in, and so now we're tying into Medicare. We heard about an opportunity with, I guess we didn't understand it that much, but it was with, I think, Aon, and they had they were making a call center for Mutual of Omaha. It was something like that. And we were going through some training. And then I thought we were going to be building a business within them. And it turned out we were just going to be some kind of call center and working for them. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So we the only thing we got out of it is we passed our AHIP. We got licensed for a few things and got our AHIP going. And then we made some connections with some other people and delved into health and Medicare, which I'd never done before. As I mentioned earlier, I only did life and annuities and I did a lot of long-term care, a lot of life insurance, did a ton of annuities as an asset manager. And I always referred out the Medicare and the health. So now we're doing, and I got to tell you today, so we're 3 years in, we just finished our third full year, and about 80% of our revenue is health insurance, based. So the annuities and the life are a much smaller component, and Medicare and health are over 80% of our revenue now. And you know why? It's, recurring revenue. It's a beautiful business. The annuities are nice tickets when you get them, and the life is a nice ticket when you get them, but there's no real residual base to it. And when I was managing $100 million of assets, I was fee-based. It was not commission anymore. I started out commission way back when, but in the early 2000s, I transitioned, converted, embraced the fee-based side of the business because you're taking away the conflict of interest.
Right? Yeah.
So if you're managing somebody's money and there's a commission involved, is it really in Christian's best interest, or was it the right move? Well, now there's a fee. The fees, whether you do anything, nothing or something, the fee's in place. So if I have advice and the money's being moved around, it's because it's the move. So I lost that. I lost that recurring revenue, right? All you had to do was manage attrition. So when I looked at getting into this so-called second career of my existence, people are like, be a mortgage broker, be a realtor, car sales, something sales oriented. You're good at sales. And I'm like, none of them have a reoccurring income business model. Only insurance does. And so with the help of my wife, we launched Weinstein Wealth Insurance Solutions at the end of 2020, and my wife's licensed. And so we're the dynamic duo. And here we are.
Wow.
We're not doing seven figures yet. we're definitely in the sixes, but we're not
getting there.
We're not seven. So, but for 3 years in, I mean, I'll share numbers if you care, but you're starting from scratch, and we could talk about, my efforts and activities and things of that if that's what you're interested in. But, I knew nobody. I'm in South Florida. I'm from New Jersey. I've relocated, and I'm starting a brand new business. And I just went back to the activities of got to find opportunities and make relationships and have people come to me and hopefully refer me. And, I had maybe some opportunities when people found out I was back in some capacity, but not what they were used to. And I can tell you, we're pretty much, if not 100%, 99.9% referral based. I don't buy leads. I don't cold call. Everything is inbound. And we did almost $250,000 in our third year of gross revenue.
That's terrific. That's terrific.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think so. I mean, I don't know how it matches others, but I'm not spending, $1,500 a week on final expense leads and making dials for 70 hours a week. Like, it's not, I don't want to work that hard. I work hard, but I work smart.
yeah.
Right. And that's what I did as a financial advisor, and how I built my business is I did seminars. I started out cold calling. I was cold calling cowboy in the 80s, man. That's all you had was a phone book and a ruler. And you just dialed. There was, we can get into all that, but
Yeah.
there was no caller ID, and answering machines were new.
Yeah. Is a different world. It's a different world for
Different
sure.
world.
Like,
Yeah.
My father was in the Medicare space when I was growing up, and he got started before I was born. So he came up and built his agency in that time. And he basically built his agency um, from essentially cold calling,
Yeah.
mostly, So, yeah, it's just a totally different world. A question that I have for you that just kind of listening to you kind of tell the story, and I think it's, what the thing that jumps out to me the most is the ability to pivot, make changes, and adjust and adapt in a tough situation in order to
Yeah.
continue to progress in your career. What do you feel like what do you feel like allowed you to be able to pivot and be able to continue moving forward, even when it might have seemed like at the time, right, that was a death
Yeah.
sentence to your career, right, when you lost the securities license?
It absolutely was. And I'll share my epiphany with you and your listener, that got me to that point of acceptance of going back in, because the way my practice was running, CFP is a fiduciary responsibility. Of those who don't understand, certified financial planner. It's a multi-year of coursework and education. It's on parallel. Some people say harder than. I can't attest to it because I haven't taken the CPA exam or the bar, but some people will tell you it's as hard, if not harder. The CFP exam is 82 subtopics.
Mm,
So it's not just Medicare. It's like
yeah.
there's 82 subtopics. Um, and so the edict of the CFP is similar to a doctor, like, do no harm. And we have fiduciary responsibility. So, i.e., my tagline is I have nothing to sell, just problems to solve, comes from the CFP mantra of like, Christian, I don't know what you need. We're going to figure it out together. And then if I have what you need, then we can implement it. And if I don't, I'll bring in somebody who can do what you need. The first business, I was licensed in securities, licensed in insurance. And so I could do the planning work. So I led with planning. And then we could implement whatever the client needed. If they needed long-term care, I could get paid on that. If they had money to manage, obviously that's my bread and butter. But if they just needed disability insurance, I could do that too. So when I lost my ability to do the planning work and the money management, I was done, right? I was like fried and toast. And I said, drove Uber for a while just to decompress. But it was kind of like, well, what the hell am I going to do with myself?
Yeah.
And so after a couple of years of that, I got a phone call. Here's the epiphany story. I got a phone call from the next door neighbor of a former client. And they're like, you help so-and-so, and we were wondering if you could help us. And I said, well, I really appreciate the call. I said, but let me be very upfront. I said, I'm not licensed to do the work that I used to do for them. I said, I do know people that I could bring in, and there are certain things I could do in the insurance world based on what you need. But why don't you tell me what's going on, and we'll figure out whether I can help, or we'll bring in Christian, and do other stuff. And we spent about 2 hours on the phone. And my wife was listening to a good amount of it. And she says, I miss that guy.
Mm,
And I said, I miss that guy too.
yeah.
And so the epiphany was that because I couldn't do what I used to do, I denied being me. And in the moment of the conversation with the people, I missed being me. And so we went and figured out, well, how much of me can I be? And that was when we then got the new business started of like, screw it, we're going to work for ourselves again, which I've always been, only have ever been happy working for myself and successful. We just figured out our lane.
Yeah.
And so we do everything in the insurance world. I'm P&C licensed, so we do auto and home and commercial just as much as we do all the life and health side of things. And so now when I'm attracting financial planning clients or people need help, well, now I just bring in a fellow CFP friend, colleague. They can do the planning and charge them. I can still add my 2 cents. I'm not compensated. But then if insurance business is to be had, it'll come to me. And if there's money to be managed, it'll go to them. And
Yeah.
so I was able to rebuild. I don't know if you're old enough, the $6 million man, Steve Austin, is I was able to be rebuilt. And now my practice is in that capacity where I can do the majority of what I used to do. But now I just have to leverage a couple of partners to implement the full scope of it. But if you think about it from the client standpoint, they're not just getting me, they're getting 2 or 3 other high-level professionals.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
when I bring in another CFP that's got 30 years of experience, all of a sudden there's 70 years of experience at the table. Like they're going to get some very strong advice and points of view. So so that that's what relit the candle. And then I had purpose again. I mean, I think and have seen the weight loss posts I've done the last couple of years,
I have.
but
Yeah. And congratulations on that, by the
thank
way.
you, thank
Been
you.
fun to follow for me.
Well, those are those Christians like super skinny, so he doesn't have fat guy syndrome like I did.
I'm getting there. I'm
But
getting there though.
well,
I'm
be
getting there
careful
as I get
now.
older.
Well, it's a sign of success. We'll say that's what it is.
My
But
dad always used to call it insurance agent belly.
yeah, if you're good at golf, you're not good at work, right? That's it's usually you can't have both. So suck at golf and be good at your job. But the reason I bring it up, that journey started so we started the business in November of 2020. The weight loss started the summer of 21. And so with all of that, as we started the business, got going, started to meet people, got involved in different groups, the Facebook groups like yours and Justin's and Josh's, and getting to meet people. Well, now I'm on camera. Now I'm on these things, and I'm like, I'm a fat sausage. I spoke at 8%. I had a breakout room that July of 21, and it happened to be my birthday, and somebody took a picture, my wife, and I'm like, I'm a fat sausage. And I said, I don't want to be looked at and perceived that way. But more to the point is, I had purpose again in my life. The business was getting going, and I was finding my rhythm, and I was becoming happier between my ears. I'd been a
Yeah.
lost soul for 4 or 5 years, and the weight became part of that. The weight acceleration. I was never, Johnny Skinny, but to go from 240 to 280, I have no business being 240, but I certainly was unhealthy at 280. And so
Yeah.
I took that on as part of the evolution of the new business, the new career, just everything having a purpose and a drive. And then I used the social media platforms, as you've seen it, just to share my story, right? Just to be vulnerable and put it out there. And how many other people need a hand to get off the couch and lose 20 pounds, right? So
Yeah. Absolutely.
you put good karma in the stratosphere, and good things happen.
I've always said if you're doing something like that, that is so, empowering for one, but two, it's just such a positive change in your life. I think I've always said that sharing it and documenting it with other people has such a big impact that maybe the person doing it doesn't even realize it until later, because you never know who's watching. You never know who's
It's
watching. You never know who's inspired. You never know who it could trigger them to do some positive changes of their own.
I heard from no less than 20 people that wrote me privately that my posts helped them take charge, get going, what they're doing. They would share their journeys with me. And it was very uplifting of like, good for you. And I'm glad you told me. And how can I support you? Because, you know, we all have good days and bad days. And, you know, dieting's never easy. And I think a lot of people, myself included, I'm an emotional eater. So again, I'll wear it. I post it. I put on like 15 pounds during open enrollment because I'm just busting my ass and not happy and tired and not thinking about, I just want a slice of pizza. I want a bag of
Yep.
potato chips. I want a pint of ice cream. Like, I
You're
don't care.
hungry, you're
Yeah.
tired. I mean,
Yeah.
and it happens to the best of us.
That's stress. So I'm working on getting that off now before the next open enrollment. But it's funny you say you don't know who's listening. I'll go back to 8% again, right? That July conference that Cody puts on and I spoke at. And so Robin, my wife Robin, came out with me. It was in Dallas. And again, you may recall some of this, but I started out right from the get-go when I started the business with the crazy Uncle Bruce.
I
You
remember
remember
that.
that?
I do remember that.
So I spent the first 2 years, year and a half, if not two, where I was harvesting people's birthdays off of Facebook. And every afternoon, I had a list of between 30 and 50 names. Now, Facebook feeds you Christian's birthday on his birthday. But if Christian's on there saying, hey, it's my mom's birthday, wishing, or my wife's birthday, or my daughter's birthday, I'm grabbing that.
Mm.
And so now I'm tagging you on the video, giving a shout out to your mom on her birthday.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it became this crazy Uncle Bruce show. And it just evolved. And I had, you know, hats and bow tie and, you know, it's just a character and it's, you know, 1 or 2 minute thing. And I'm just playing some birthday music and I'm wishing all these people happy birthday. And then I upload it to Facebook and then I tag all those people that either it's theirs or it's their somebody related to them in some capacity that they gave the shout out. And that exploded on my social media, right? So
Yeah.
fast forward, now I'm at the conference and I'm pretty sure you were there because I think we met there.
Yeah. I've gone 1 year and as you were talking, I was trying to think, I'm like, if it was that year or 22, but I think it was that year. I
I
think it
feel
was
like I feel like it was, but
because I did a breakout too. And yeah, it must have been that year. Had to have been. All
Statmore
blurs
maybe.
together. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Statler.
no, they all Statler.
Statler.
So he had the opening, you know, the whatever the Friday night, whatever the night was, they had the big mixer, right?
Yes. Yes.
Music and
Yep.
some hors d'oeuvres and whatever.
The
And
first night, right?
yeah,
Yes. I
before the
remember
meeting
that.
start, like the, you know,
Yeah.
the welcome night. And so we're walking around and I'm telling you, people like Johnny Brock were like, crazy Uncle Bruce. Like people were stopping me. They're like, crazy Uncle Bruce. And I'm like, hey, how are you? Like, you know, and I'm like, all right, so I recognize your face, their face. But again, 10, 20 people are crazy Uncle Bruce and me from across the rooms. And then Pete Fournier was there. And I'm introducing him to my wife. I'd met him at SWAT in April. That's where I met a lot of you guys with SWAT. I met Justin and Cody and Pete and Brad Hannon. And so that was when I coined the line, I'm licensed longer than you're all alive. But,
Right.
you know, they went to SWAT and they were on that VIP section. And I'm in the cheap seats because I'm new at this, right? And so I step over the velvet rope and introduce myself to every one of them. Like, who are you? I'm watching you. Like, all right, you're in the good seat, so you must be somebody, right? So again, I made friends with them, and so I see Pete, and I go over to Pete, introduce my wife, and Pete leans into her and he goes, "Oh, by the way, happy birthday to her." The conference was on my birthday, the 25th, and Robin's birthday is the 21st. And I had posted Robin's birthday in one of the things. And so here he is. That's the point of it, is he's leaning in saying, oh, by the way, happy birthday. Well, how did he know it was her birthday? because he saw the video.
And he watched the video.
I am a tremendous fan of Medicare pre-scheduled appointments, and I'm going to tell you why.
Like, you may not see the likes,
a lead,
you may not see,
what a lead is,
comment.
in my definition, is a person that's expressed vague interest in your product or service that you offer in some form or fashion. It could be someone filling out a landing page form. It could be someone filling out something on a Facebook ad or social media form. It could be somebody filling out a direct mail postcard and mailing it back into you. There's many different ways a lead could be captured. But to me, by definition, a lead is a person expressing vague interest in your product or service. Okay. Now, people will say, well, someone called into my office yesterday and it was a referral, and that was more than vague interest. To me, that's not a lead. By definition, to me, that's a referral. That's a new client. That's a lay down. But when it comes to actual leads, there usually is vague interest because you're running an advertisement, and the advertisement doesn't always necessarily tell them everything they need to know to make an informed decision. And you need to essentially move that vague interest to enough interest to transact with you. That's where your salesmanship comes into play, okay? Now, the reason why I love a pre-scheduled appointment is because, to me, I think there's going to be different levels to this game, right? There's going to be different levels to the lead game, the referral game, the new client game. So, like, if, let's say, a cold call's here, the bottom of the totem pole, right? Like, it's as cold as ice. It's ice age, my friends. It's as low on this totem pole of interest and intent as it's going to get. I would say a lead is going to be here. Now, certain leads can vary, right? Some leads are higher intent than others, but at the end of the day, they're going to live in this section right here. I would put a pre-scheduled appointment here, and I'd put something incredibly warm like a referral here, right? So I'd say the pre-scheduled appointment is not going to be a situation where you're taking an order. It's not going to be a situation where you are essentially just signing somebody up and you're going to close 100% of them, but it is a better intent contact than a lead in and of itself, right? So there's plenty of services out there that do pre-scheduled appointments, and oftentimes, you look at their prices and it's like, whoa, Nelly. To me, there is no better pre-scheduled appointment in terms of price, intent, and value than the Lead Heroes pre-scheduled appointment, okay? Even before we merged with Lead Heroes, I was a customer of theirs for many years. And I assure you, I wasn't just buying these leads and these pre-scheduled appointments because I liked them. Of course, I did like them, but I wasn't doing it just because I liked them, right? I don't like anybody that much to where I'm going to keep spending money if something's not working properly, right, in my business. And so we have had super success with Lead Heroes leads, in particularly these new pre-scheduled appointments. How they work is essentially they are an opt-in, right? They're an opt-in that somebody has essentially agreed to be contacted. Okay, so the person's already filled out a form stating they agreed to be contacted. One of the Lead Hero lead callers will make an outbound call to this person who agreed to be opt-in. There's permission to contact, okay? And they will talk to them, and essentially they will keep doing that until they find somebody that gives verbal consent over a recorded line to speak with an agent in their area, or maybe just an agent in general. These can be face-to-face, guys. These can be over the phone. Of course, face-to-face costs a little bit more because they cost a little bit more to generate. And they also run through a CMS-approved carrier scope of appointment script and capture a verbal script over the phone. They schedule it on your calendar 48 hours later, okay? So we did these in AEP before the merger as a customer, as a client agency, and we did fairly well with them. And I know tons of agents that did fairly well with them. It was a huge hot product, especially with the scope of appointment 48-hour rule coming back and taking effect October 1st of last year, 2023, right? So this is a solution to your scope of appointment 48-hour woes, okay? They capture the scope. They set it on your calendar 48 hours later, and boom, right? You can literally do a one-call application in this certain type of situation. Okay. So I'm a big fan of pre-scheduled appointments. I'm a big fan of these presets. I feel like there is not anybody that comes close to the quality, to the value, and to the overall prices that are being offered right now through Lead Heroes. Okay. I'm also making this video to let you know these pre-scheduled appointments are on sale right now. They're on a significant sale until the end of January. We're actually going to throw a link down in the description of this video. If you guys would like to see me do a training, maybe a 45-minute training, an hour-long training on actually how to work these, what script to use, and best practices to getting the best use and results out of your Lead Hero pre-scheduled appointments, let me know. Comment down in the comment section if you'd like to see me make and create that training for you, and we'll put it up for free on the YouTube channel for everybody to see. But if you're looking for lead flow, you're looking for lead flow to really have a really dynamite and a banging OEP, Lead Hero pre-scheduled appointments are where it's at. You guys need to take advantage of this, and we have a monster sale going on until the end of the month. Remember, cold call, lead, preset, referral, right? So the preset is a higher quality than a lead. It's as good as it gets in terms of quality, and I think you guys are going to really be pleased with the results that you'll find with these pre-scheduled appointments. So make sure that you get your orders in. There's only 5,000 actual appointments that are available in this sale, and then there won't be any more. Why? Because the demand is so high that that's all that the staff is going to be able to keep up with, right? And so it's not going to last forever. Once the 5,000 are sold out, they're sold out, and we'll have to close it until a little bit more availability opens up. So get your orders in, pre-scheduled appointments. I'm all about them. Pre-scheduled appointments are where it's at for 2024. And yeah, guys, I hope this helps you out tremendously. I hope it helps you like it helped our business during AEP last year. It was a great lead source for us. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Like this video if you like it. Again, comment your thoughts on down below in this video. I want to interact with you. Let us know if you want me to create and film that training for you. No strings attached. It's essentially how to succeed with preset appointments, how to work on best practices, everything like that. Make sure to subscribe. We put out weekly videos. And thanks so much for watching, guys. Here's to your success and your abundance. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
But again, maybe now you could see the viewership a little bit more than back, 3 years ago. But I'm like, wow, people are watching this thing. And I had no idea because, if they don't comment or they don't like on it, I don't know. But I did that for, I saved every one of them. And I think I purged my Google Drive not that long ago, but it comes up on Facebook memories like every week, like something from 2 years ago or something. So, but yeah, that was some of the initial work I did in the look, I'm an old dog looking to make new tricks, right? So
yeah, right.
What I did then is not what today is. And I had to evolve from cold calling in the 80s to seminars in, the 90s and the 2000s. So, what are people doing? Well, it was social media. And so I had to learn like how to grow my following and how to get people to watch. So the Crazy Uncle Bruce, became a big piece of it. And now it's, all this Ask the Planman stuff that we post content. So yeah.
Yeah. I think, what the thing that pops into my mind hearing the story is I've always been such a big believer that anytime somebody does promotion or marketing of themselves to kind of grow their business, because essentially, it might not be a real, it might not have a necessarily super hard call to action or anything like that, but it's essentially, it's building your brand. It's building Bruce's brand, Crazy Uncle Bruce's brand, the Planman brand. And I've always said, like, when you're doing that, the best thing I think anybody can do is try to be as creative and unique about it as possible, which that is exactly what you did, because I don't ever recall seeing anyone, because I remember these posts. I saw them often, and I'm sure I watched a couple of them because I remember the outfits and the hats and everything. And
and you were tagged on your birthday for sure.
I'm sure. Yeah, I was actually. You're right. But like I think about that. I have not seen anyone do that prior, and I have not seen anyone do it exactly, in that way since. And I think it's so important for anybody that's listening to that to me, what I would take away from that with Bruce is the creativity that went into it, right? Like, don't just try to copy somebody else's idea. Try to come up with as fresh of a version of an idea as possible. Like, get
Yeah.
creative, use your imagination to when you're putting yourself out there. And I think that usually is what catches people's attention the most.
We went to the party store, and I was like a kid in a candy shop. I'm like, look at all the hats. I like when I first started doing it. I don't know if it's in this drawer anymore. I had a tiara. I had a princess. I was wearing a princess tiara. Like, I didn't care what I was wearing. Like, it's Christian's birthday, and I'm looking a fool over here with the little, tiara on my head.
Whatever gets the attention, right?
Just having fun. And
yeah,
as what you're saying is basically people get to see the purity or the true you when you're doing that. It's not a pretense. It's not some scripted, Kardashian thing. It's like, you're just being real. And so what happened is I started doing it, and my childhood friend wrote me. She's like, "You're like everybody's favorite uncle." And so that's where Uncle Bruce came from. I'm saying, well, I'm gonna start calling myself Uncle Bruce. She's like, "You're like everybody's favorite uncle. Like, everybody adores you. You're so funny." And then somebody's like, "Dude, you're crazy." And I'm like, "I'm crazy Uncle Bruce. That's it." And that's how it got born. And there's a box of stuff over there with all the hats. And I got to tell you, people are complaining like, "Dude, you got to bring them back." And I'm like, my social media has been dipping. I may start doing it again.
I may do it. So I may do it.
I hired a VA to help me, and she did that with me for a year. And then it just kind of petered out. I'm like, I'm spending all that money, and it wasn't the same when she started doing things. So it's because it lost me, it lost me. But yeah, I'm thinking about
it. Talk a little bit about Ask the Planman now. So how, it evolved, so essentially your social media content, it evolves into that over time.
Yeah.
What does it look like today? Is it a weekly show? What does it look like?
So we started out, February was our completion of our second full year. So we're now starting our third year. I'm in a multitude of networking groups, some in person. And when we started the business, it was COVID. So a lot were virtual, and the Zoom world, as we're doing here, you got involved in networking groups. So I've been in groups that are in Philadelphia, Tampa, Dallas, Las Vegas, Scottsdale, like LA, Philly, New York, like they're all over the place. So you can be in whatever you want. If you're licensed, you add a license if you're not, but you're just looking to meet people and say, "Hey, this is what I do." Well, one of the groups was a company that helped you launch a podcast. And so I got to know her, and we became friendly. And the backstory is I've always, and I'm working on it now, is write a book. Like, I've got a book in me. I got a couple books in me. All this knowledge that I have, I don't want to die and take it with me. But I'm what I label, I'm a driver, expressive or an expressive driver. I can't sit judiciously for hours and write. I can talk all day, but I can't sit and write a book. And so when I got involved, this is prior to the podcast, I hired somebody where she would interview me like this, and then she would transpose. Now we have AI to do that.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't have to pay anybody. But so I struggled with the book. And then the podcast was like, well, sure as donuts. I like to talk. A podcast sounds right up my alley. Like, let's talk. So I launched the podcast. The Ask the Planman, I try to remember exactly where it came from, but just kind of I'm all about proactivity. And I think the CFP calling inside, in that vein. And then, so it just kind of came up, and then I contacted a graphic artist, designer, and he gave me like the microphone this way with a hat and glasses, like a monocle and a little mustache or something. And I shared it. I shared his 3 ideas, and people voted. And somebody wrote, "Well, why isn't it your glasses and your goatee? Like, why is it?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's a good point." So I wrote him back. I'm like, change this, change this. Next thing I know, he's sending me a version of this thing. I'm like, no. I don't want me. He made an illustration of me. I said it was a microphone that just put my glasses and my beard. Instead, he creates this thing.
Yeah.
So I show it to my wife, and I'm not looking to be the front, right? I'm embarrassed, humbled. I'm just like, it's not what I want. And my wife looked at it. She's like, oh, that's it. she's like, stop the press. Like that's your logo. That's your brand. That's you. You're the Planman. You're the brand. And so, that thing, I said, you got to put a little more gray hair in there. And the coloring, I'm like, I look a little bit too Hispanic. I said, I don't look as Jewish as I need to be. Like, I had him tweak a few things, but he softened it up a little bit and brought in the coloring and the hair and the gray and the, my big forehead. And
it looks so much like you though. Sometimes people will try to do logos like that and they'll look nothing like them, and that's to me where it doesn't connect, but like, that one looks so much like you and it looks so good. They did a great job on it.
If I tell you, he was like, not even $200. he solicited me on Facebook, and I'm like, well, this is what I'm looking for. How much? He's like, whatever, 100, 200. I think it was to get the trademark thing. He charged me another 100, but it was only $200-300. So I got away. I got a bargain for sure. But as you can see, for those who are not watching the video, I've got about 40 golf shirts that are all embroidered. First with the Weinstein Wealth logo, which is what I had originally. And then now I have, some of them are dual. So I threw the Planman on there, and I've got a whole slew of just Planman shirts, and I've got the rainbow of colors. I got every color you can think of. I came home with 3 golf shirts the other day. My wife was like, more? I'm like, oh, I don't have these colors. So I gotta add these colors. But I wear it everywhere. And so as you say about branding, so what's behind, the madness of it? I don't know about you, but I don't go around passing out my cards. Yeah. I don't put, I got my air fresheners, my business cards. I have air freshener that says, are you tired of stinky advice? Come ask the Planman. That's my car air freshener.
That's good.
That's beautiful. I came up with that. That's a great tagline. Are you tired of stinky advice? Like, hang that in your car. But I wear the shirt. And as Grant Cardone, I heard from him, you don't meet anybody at home.
Yes.
You don't meet anybody at home. So you got to go out, you got to meet people. So when we go out, Saturday night dinner, I won't wear these, but I'm pretty much going out anywhere. We go to happy hour. We'll sit at a bar, not always at a table, but at a bar. Inevitably, if it's crowded enough, somebody's staring at my chest.
Mm-hmm.
Of which I have 2 responses. I go, hey, buddy, my eyes are up here. Stop staring at my chest. And I usually get a laugh, especially if it's the ladies. The ladies do it because they're like, everybody always stares at their chest, right? So I'm like, hey, my eyes are up here. But then people are like, is that you? I'm like, yeah. And they go, what is that? And I go, I have a podcast. That's Ask the Planman. That's and they're like, oh, and they pull their phone out.
And they find it.
They're going to Spotify or Apple or YouTube. And they're like, subscribe. I'm like, oh, I'm going to check you out. I'm like, send me a message. Tell me what you like. Tell me, what episode stuck out to you. And then, I got the big magnets on my car and my license plate is Planman. And I just went all in. So, of our 3 years, the Planman's the last 2. The Weinstein Wealth branding kind of got pushed aside, and I lead with Planman. And even then I'm, being told it's still Bruce, like you should be leading with Bruce, and the Planman is part of Bruce. So, there's always that, that Brad Lee persona of like, you just sell yourself, just brand yourself and market yourself. And that's, the crazy Uncle Bruce and the Planman and, this other stuff. So it's still me.
Yep. And it's ever growing, ever evolving. And I think it's terrific branding, and it's using it to the most effective ways, to where you're wearing it out, people are commenting on it, you're constantly exposing new people to the brand and to what you're doing. And it's great business as far as I'm concerned. I'm such a big believer, as I'm sure about branding and familiarity. Like And that the thing, like you mentioned Cardone. You know, one thing I learned from Cardone early in my career that has always stuck with me is most businesses fail because nobody knows who they are. They have an
Obscure.
obscurity problem.
Right.
And you know, so I think I love it. I love it. It's right up my alley from my
Yeah.
belief system in terms of great ways to brand and great ways to do business. So I love it.
I got it again. Back to the SWAT conference is I got it from Coach Burt and Person of Interest. That's
Yeah.
what he spoke about, and I got his book, downloaded it, listened to it on the plane ride home, and was taking furious notes. And I told you earlier, like, I'm not a writer. And I'm like, oh, like this is going to change my life. Like, I'm like, I got a whole way to go. Now I'm in business 3 months. Like, this is April of COVID 2021. So, we're just out of open enrollment. I don't know what I'm doing next. We have no money coming in. We're just getting going. And I went to the SWAT conference, and Coach was the keynote. And the next thing I know, I'm dropping $5,000 to do this boot camp with him and Nate. And I asked for terms, like, I can't pay up front, like, work with me. And they're like, and I'll be there. And so all of that just kind of came into the conjunction of what you just said, is attracting, not chasing, being known, not being obscure, right? To put your word on it. And that was it. Like, that's just what I took off of, like, well, what could I do? And that's recording, going live, Crazy Uncle Bruce, just getting known. And then, my Facebook followers became, back then you invited people, you invited them, now it's more followers, I guess, when you're over 5,000. I don't know how it all works these days, but, for me, look, I'm literally twice your age. What I'm getting with what I'm doing is just reacquainted with my crowd, right? Friends, acquaintances, people I've known for 40 years. And that's fine, right? Like, business is business, but, oh, Bruce is doing this now. Oh, Bruce can answer I'm going on to Medicare. Bruce can help me. Oh, I need an annuity. Oh, I'm moving. I need my car insurance. Like, just, hey folks, I'm accessible. I'm here. What do you need? And you're going to deal with a stranger, or you want to deal with somebody you know? So, my honey hole for Medicare is started. Like, one of my fraternity brothers is turning 65 in April. So, the next few years, my Medicare honey hole is going to be my whole natural market. Like, if they don't know what I'm doing, it's up to them. I'm not going to go, I can't solicit anyway, right? But I'll put it out there like, hey, I know you're turning in April. Like, if you need help, need questions, let me know. But
Yep.
So for me, I think the difference between, let's say, you, Justin, Josh, like, I'm not really doing much to successfully attract strangers. The strangers are coming by referral. So-and-so told me to call you. You help them with, right? Or, I'm friends with Christian, type of thing, or other agents, which I get a lot of, because either they don't do what we do in that particular insurance, or, they're not in state.
Yeah, not licensed in a state.
Yeah.
Somebody moved, something like that.
Yeah. So it just, the evolution for me is to try and get more and more of the new audience, right? Like, putting all this material, people are like, oh, you're getting anything out of your podcast? Well, directly or indirectly, like, how do you answer that? So, have I gotten some business from it? Yeah. Am I getting a ton of phone calls because of it, and all kinds of new people, or, reviews and messages and that episode, and, hey, call me? No. But when my buddy who's 70 from my hometown is like, I've been watching your annuity episodes and I'm thinking about getting some, can we talk? I want to talk to the Planman.
That's a win.
Like,
that's a win.
Total win. Yeah.
I think back to, like, when I first started doing content, consumer content, because I'm probably, a lot of the audience doesn't know, I started doing consumer content way before I ever started doing agent content.
Mm.
So I started in 2018. My dad was still in the business and not really, like, doing anything, but, he was closer and closer to hanging it up. And we ultimately ended up buying his company after about a couple years ago now. But anyway, I remember I started doing content, YouTube videos, everything Medicare podcast, which exploded. And there would be people that knew him. I remember very vividly, very specifically, friends of his would call me. We had separate companies. Most people don't know this. We had companies that had nothing to do with each other. They would call me to enroll when they're turning 65, and they wouldn't call him. And he would just be enraged about it. He'd be so angry about it because they're like his close personal friends or people he goes to lunch with like every Sunday after church. Some of them haven't seen me in 5 years, but they're calling me because they see me more. Yeah. They see the content, they see the posts on social media, they see all that stuff. And it's real. It's real. Like a lot of these people, just because you know them, they'll forget you do what you do.
Right.
If they're not constantly reminded, is what I learned from that.
Many years ago, this is a childhood friend I know since second grade, and they're asking me about their life insurance that they bought. And this is like 30 years ago. And I'm like, I look at them, I'm like, you know, I sell life insurance, right? And he's like, no. Well, whose fault is that? His or mine?
It's yours ultimately.
He thinks he thinks I'm a stockbroker or, a financial guy. He didn't correlate. And that's the problem in the financial services space. It's a blanket title.
Yeah.
And the consumer doesn't necessarily know what it actually is.
Yeah.
Because one person can call themselves a financial advisor and is only insurance based, and another is only investment based, and they call themselves the same thing. So it's up to us to really make sure, and that's what I try and do is like, I do everything. If it has an I, I'm your guy. Anything insurance related, we can help. Like, you need pet insurance? I got you. You need your car done? So, not a lot of people, and that adds to, if agents are listening to this, it adds to some of my struggles when people ask me about my avatar. Like, what are you going after? I had it at dinner last night with a good friend who's moving down here. He's like, I have other friends that are coming down here. Who's your ideal client? And I'm like, I'm asked this question every week.
Mm-hmm.
My marketing people, my creative people, they're like, what do you want to target? What are we going after? And I'm like, I do everything. I'm a unicorn.
Everybody.
I said, everybody. But, how do you market to everybody? So, that's the problem. So when you look at somebody who just does Medicare, then you can just drive your message around Medicare. But I'm back in I don't have anything to sell, just problems to solve mode. So if I only have Medicare and they're 42, then what am I supposed to do? Now I got to give it away? Well, no, they need Obamacare. They need private health. They need what else? They need life. So, I've always tried to have that, jackknife or whatever it's called, Swiss Army knife, is I have everything you need. So what do you need? Like, just figure it out. And then I'm a resource. And then it's like, well, if I did a good job for you, then they're probably going to tell somebody else who might need something else. And like I said, it's just the phone and the email is constantly getting a chime with a referral from somebody. And so I'm operating at a level that I prefer these days, being, long in the tooth, as they say. But I want more. I want what you're doing. I want just like, I want a 7-figure business, but I don't want a call center, and I don't want agents, and so I have to resign myself to what I'm pigeonholing myself of what I'm willing to do, and then what I'm not willing to do.
Yeah.
Right. And so your listener out there has to make the same decisions, because look, I can get into recruiting and building a team and You know what? Nobody works as hard as I do.
Yeah.
Every time I've tried, I've been nothing but disappointed. I was a training manager at IDS. I trained like 20 rookies. One still in the business.
Yeah.
Good friend, and we're good friends. He's a CFP. Okay.
It's so much about, to me, you ultimately always can control your own efforts. You can't control the efforts of others. And I always tell agents that work with us, I mean, for us, I tell them, I'm like, for us to effectively work with agents, we have a 10-to-1 ratio or 9-to-1 ratio. 9 don't do much. 1 is very good. It's usually the way it works. And
That's
I always
10%.
tell, yeah. And so, I tell agents, I'm like, for us, I'm like, we have like a division of the company, right? That's the responsibility of that division of the company is to recruit agents. We provide them with resources, things like that. But ultimately, we need, we have about 500 contracted agents now. We need that for that division to do anything, to have any kind of revenue for us. Like these big FMOs that have tens of thousands of agents, that's because they need them. They need that many to make the money they're making.
Yeah, it's a bigger machine.
But I tell our agents all the time when they come in, they're like, they'll have a good first couple months, first good 2 or 3 months selling. They're like, I think, they're like, my brother wants to get in. Can I recruit him? It's not that we're going to tell them no, but my advice is focus on building your book. Focus on building your book, because that's how I got going. I sold for 6 years, did nothing else before I ever worked with an agent. And so I think what you're doing is the right thing to do. I think building a book is something that's predictable, and it's something that you can control. You can't control others.
I use it. You got to get to critical mass. You got to get to a point. I tell anybody, whether it's a financial services, insurance, it's 3 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get to critical mass till at least year 3 and probably year 5. And, that term is, a baseline of revenue that is now coming in that you're sustaining and you're successful. You're not borrowing. You're not, short every month. Right. But you do whatever you got to do in those first 5 years, beg, borrow, and plead to keep going and growing. And my first 2 years, we put every penny back in the business. We did 83,000 our first year. And you got to remember, we didn't start seeing money till April and May. And we did $83,000. Now, you and I both know that's probably double the average of what a first year agent makes in insurance.
Yeah, probably more, honestly.
Yeah. So, when you mentioned the 1 out of 9, 1 out of 10. So when I got hired at Merrill Lynch, September of '86, Merrill was in a massive, massive expansion mode. It was Reaganomics, and the stock market was, making this move that was unprecedented, and they were hiring like crazy. And my class, they hired this every month for a couple of years. My class was 175 recruits nationwide. And I was in Princeton, New Jersey with 2 other guys in my class. By the end of the first year, 90% were gone. 90%. And they spent a lot of money training those agents.
Yeah.
The advisors, sorry. But it's a cream of the crop. It's just like the NFL draft. Like it's like you got to make your picks, and you got to see who's going to rise and who's going to fail. And you don't know until you put them in the fire. Quick aside to that is, when I looked to get into the business, so I studied computers. I had an MIS degree, management information systems. I hated computer science. I struggled with it, but I had a minor in finance, and I was taking stock market and finance and economics and stuff. And I'm like, so I always had an affinity for that. So my first year out of school was in computers, which are not the computers of today. We're just getting out of the punch card era when I started college. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, so I had a stockbroker at Payne Weber. And I'm charting, I'm reading Barron's. Again, there's no computers, folks. Like, I'm sitting there writing down the highs and the lows and the breakouts, and I'm making my charts. Like, none of this stuff existed. There are no computers to do this stuff. And so I'm picking stocks, and this guy's talking me out of my stocks, and he's giving me their garbage. And his garbage is losing money, and my stocks are going crazy. And I'm like, dude, stop telling me I can't buy my own stocks. Like, but I had no idea what a stockbroker did. And I had one. So somehow that's 1985. And so I'm not happy. And I want to look into becoming a stockbroker. I didn't know from nothing. So the point of this, where I'm going, is we had a family member at EF Hutton. And again, I know you're a younger guy, but some of your audience might know who EF Hutton is. But the point is, they're not in business anymore, which will be tied into my story. And so I interviewed with EF Hutton, and they sent me home with a inch thick, 30-page evaluation, questionnaire, psychological exam, which was all sales driven. And I didn't know from this stuff, Christian. So it's like, it's a Saturday afternoon. Would you rather go to the park with your, girlfriend, or would you rather sell insurance? Like, I go to the park with my girlfriend. Like, I didn't understand the questions, right? So I didn't understand how to answer the question. And so they're like, oh, well, you didn't do too well in the exam. Why don't you go sell cars for 6 months and come back and see us? Because this so-called aptitude, right? So I'm like, screw you guys. So I took my resume and I drove down to Princeton, and I literally walked in the offices and dropped off resumes. And the Merrill Lynch office, she said, hold on, have a seat. And the manager comes out. He goes, did you just walk in the door? No appointment? I'm like, yeah, just, cold calling, right? And he's looking at the resume. I fit the mold of what they want. I'm young and dumb, 23. He's like, come on back. And he's interviewing me. We're talking. He's getting to know me a little bit. And he goes, I like you. He says, hold on. He picks up the phone. He calls New York. He goes, I got a candidate for the simulation. And then, okay, what are the dates? I don't know. He goes, can you be in New York? He's putting the phone down. He goes, can you be in New York, next Thursday at whatever? I'm like, I'll be wherever you tell me, bro. So hangs up the phone, wishes me good luck. And that next week, I get all dressed up. I take the train, Port Authority, World Trade Center, the towers, and I find myself in this Merrill Lynch office. And they do a simulation for 3 hours. I had a pile of papers on my desk. I had a brown ribbon and a brown marker. I was Mr. Brown. I had a phone and a chair next to me at the desk, and it kind of had like a welcome and some instructions. And managers came in and out, and they're like, okay, we're having a promotion. We're promoting XYZ stock. 1.5% commission, go. And you're like, what am I doing? And you open up the stuff, and it's like, oh, here's client names, accounts that they have, phone number. So now you're picking up the phone, you're dialing 2, and this guy's on the phone. Hi, Mr. Jones, this is Bruce Weinstein from Merrill Lynch. So why, Merrill Lynch just came out with a recommendation of XYZ stock, and we're highly recommending it. We're giving it an A1 rating. I feel it's something based upon what you've been buying with us in the past. You should probably add 1,000 shares to your account. Can I put in the order for you? Yes. Okay. Thanks. And people got out within 10 minutes and walked out. And I'm doing this, and I'm like, this is what a stockbroker does. Like, I was loving it. And you had to write letters, you had to do stuff. The guy stopped at your desk like a walk-in. You had to interview and talk to him. What is he looking to do? And, whatever it was. And that was the difference of the Merrill Lynch screening process versus EF Hutton. I was the same guy at EF Hutton. They didn't ask me to play broker. They asked me to answer some stupid questions.
Yeah.
Merrill put me in the hot seat and said,
can you do this or not? Yeah,
can you do it or not? And do you like it? Right? Like, these people walked out. They didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this shit's wonderful. Like, I'm eating it up. Obviously, I got hired, and I was in the top echelon of people. I was successful. I was that 1 out of 10, right? EF Hutton didn't hire me.
Mm-hmm.
Could have done it for EF Hutton. And so, for you, your agents, anybody who's building teams, think about your processes when you're looking to hire somebody. This is the aha, right? So what is how much money, time, and resources are you going to give to the duds and ignore the studs?
Yep.
How do you get more studs? And so your processes are, well, maybe you got to put them in a hot seat a little bit. Let me see how they do. And so, Pete Fournet, like I was telling Pete this story because Pete basically gives them his cookbook and says, I'll see you in a year.
Mm-hmm.
If they ain't around, he didn't waste any time. His time's too precious. But if they're doing everything in the cookbook and they're making their way, now they start getting his time and his tutelage. And I told him that story about Merrill, and I'm like, dude, what you're doing is brilliant. Because how much time do you waste playing nursemaid to agents that are duds?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, it's the same thing we do with Six Figure Medicare University. You know, like Six Figure Medicare University is everything I know about this business. Point blank. We put everything in there. You know, there's 175 training videos.
Wow. Holy cow.
And so, you know, our top agents get time with me. But that's about it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the way we have to do it. And I did it the other way in the early years when we started working with agents, and exactly what you said. You know, it's you know, it's the old saying of the 80% of the ones that are writing the least will take up the majority of your time, and you know, that kind of thing. And so I think you know, you hit it right in the head. Bruce, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you have other things to do than talk to me all day, although we probably could stay on together for another hour or so.
I'm enjoying it.
As am I. As am I.
You let me talk about me, it always becomes
No. Last question I have for you, and then we'll kind of wrap this up.
Sure.
Where can people find Ask the Planman? They wanted to go subscribe. Probably anywhere, right? You can listen
anywhere.
to podcasts.
Yeah. Well, I'm not on certain things. I got kicked off of TikTok. So,
oh, really?
You can't find. I don't know what happened. My people were posting some stuff, and all of a sudden, I got this email, and it says your account's just not suspended,
terminated,
like closed, banned.
Ooh.
I'm like, for what? What did I put? Like, there's nothing. Yeah. Like, I'm putting my shorts or reels or whatever equivalents are on there, and there's no appeal. There's nobody to talk to. It's just an email, and then people pull it up like, dude, like, I can't get on your TikTok. It says you're not there anymore. I'm like, yeah, they kicked me off. So don't go to TikTok. Matter of fact, close your TikTok and screw them. So planman.tv will take you right to our YouTube channel. Asktheplanman.com, 844-PLANMAN is our toll-free number. And then Bruce at asktheplanman.com for email. But you Google anything, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn's under my own personal page, but you know, those are the big places that we're at. YouTube, trying to, you know, my YouTube following, I'm trying to keep growing, and then I'm on Apple, Spotify. We're on like 38, I think, these days. Podcast for audio, and so thank you.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for all your knowledge and all your insight and your time. I don't take that for granted. Guys, go subscribe to Ask the Planman on wherever you like to consume podcasts the most, except for TikTok. And
I mean, I don't know if you could see it on the screen, and whether your audio people are. So I've got a digital business card delivery system. So let's see if this works. So text the word Planman,
okay.
No space, because your spell check's going to want to space it. So text to 21,000. So that's the phone number, the word Planman, and then you should get a link that's going to have my digital business card that then has all of my contact information, YouTube, and the like. So see if the audience, when you drop this, let's see how many people I get texts from, because it notifies me.
I just got it.
That's
pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Did you open the link? Like, did you see the card itself?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. That's cool.
So again, looks for your agents, this is a very low cost item. It's textable. So why is that important? Again, we'll give another tip. 21,000. Is that easy to remember? Yeah. Planman. So keyword, whatever your keyword might be, 6-figure, right? So my keyword is text 6-figure to 21,000 and get blank, whatever it is you build out on your card, right? It then goes into my Go High Level, goes into my CRM. And then I have your information. Not that I do anything with it, but at least I have it. Yeah. And then if you were using it, let's say you're at an event for Medicare, you can keyword it to that event, and you could build out an automated reply back to it and put them in a campaign. So you can do a lot of things with it. It's a pretty cool tool. It's like $22 a month.
That is cool. That is cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, guys.
That's a good one.
Text 21,000 Planman, and you'll be able to see for yourself kind of what Bruce and I are talking about. And again, go subscribe to Ask the Planman podcast on wherever you guys like to consume podcasts. Appreciate it, Bruce. We'll have to do this again soon. I had a good time. I enjoyed the conversation. And we'll see you guys next time on another episode of the 7 Figures or Bust podcast. If you like this episode, you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. And we'll be back with another episode soon. Thanks, everybody.